Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Global Times USA. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today we're diving deep into an explosive topic, Lukashenko losing power fast. Belarus army defects, revolution unstoppable. In this review-style explanation video, I will walk you through the exterior, meaning the public face and visual symbolism, the interior, the underlying structures, institutions, and internal dynamics, performance, how the regime is behaving and responding, safety features, risks, protections, safeguards in play, unique selling points, what makes this moment critical or distinctive, implied price, what is being paid by various actors, and then wrap up in a strong conclusion. Let's begin by looking at the exterior of this unfolding drama. On the surface, what the world sees is mass protests in cities like Minsk, crowds waving white, red, white flags chanting "Leave" or "Down with Lukashenko," banners, street blockades, and clashes with security forces. The regime maintains a facade of strength, military parades, televised speeches, armored vehicles, riot police, visible everywhere, as if to project that stability is intact. But cracks are showing. Uniformed personnel are caught discarding insignia, protesters are recording the movement of troops, and viral videos show police or lower-level officers announcing they no longer support the violent crackdown. The symbolism of a uniform turned inside out or a soldier kneeling is dramatic. The exterior is dramatic, theatrical, and designed to sway perception and morale. Now let me move to the core, the interior. This is the most complex, biggest part, because inside is where the real struggle for power, loyalty, legitimacy, and structure takes place. Inside the regime, Lukashenko depends on a web of institutions: the security services, police, Oman, KGB, Interior Ministry troops, the Presidential Guard, intelligence agencies, the army, and regional governors and elites. Each of these has its own layers of loyalty, patronage, fear, and incentives. The interior also includes the civil society, opposition networks, underground media, social media activists, diaspora groups, and foreign backers. Within the security apparatus, many lower and mid-level officers are disillusioned. Some have personal contacts with protesters, relatives among detainees, or simply moral qualms about repressing their own people. Others fear being scapegoated or punished if the regime falls. There are documented defectors, such as Ivan Kolos, a policeman, who posted a video condemning Lukashenko and urging fellow officers to side with the people, eventually fleeing the country. Also, a former guard loyal to Lukashenko, Vyacheslav Harnusky, later defected and joined Ukrainian forces, publicly stating that serving the regime conflicted with his conscience. That shows that even in the innermost security circles, cracks exist. The interior also involves the dual narrative the regime fights: legitimacy and control. Lukashenko's legitimacy is challenged by claims of electoral fraud, mass protests, and international condemnation. To maintain control, he must keep the security forces aligned, suppress dissent, manage internal purges, maintain communication networks, and secure foreign backing, especially from Russia. But as defections emerge, regime rhetoric shifts, threats increase, security is tightened, propaganda intensifies, and internal surveillance rises. Another interior dimension is the economy: sanctions, inflation, supply disruptions, capital flight, and the morale of bureaucrats and elites. If ministries or local officials decide the regime is sinking, they may quietly shift allegiance, withhold resources, or slow down enforcement. The interior also includes intelligence about the opposition: informants, infiltration, censorship, signal jamming, and suppression of dissenting media. Thus, interior is a contest between coercion, loyalty, and dissent. The regime tries to maintain a unified core. The opposition tries to infiltrate, persuade, and break the core. Next, performance: how the regime and the revolution are actually performing in real time. From the regime's side, performance includes crackdowns, arrests, censorship, show trials, media blackouts, and acts of intimidation. The regime also tries to stage symbolic events, military walks, public addresses, press conferences, medals to loyal officers to show it isn't losing grip. But performance is slipping. protest turnout remains high, videos of defection multiply, state media credibility erodes, and some security forces are visibly hesitating. The regime's heavy-handed tactics sometimes backfire, drawing international condemnation and increasing local resolve. On the revolution or opposition side, performance is also mixed, but in many respects impressive. Protesters remain relatively disciplined and nonviolent, so far mostly, coordinating via encrypted channels, mobilizing across cities, organizing flash mobs, and putting pressure on local institutions. They leverage social media to bring global attention, leak evidence of regime abuses, and encourage security personnel to defect. The sustained performance, over days and weeks, challenges the narrative that this is a transient protest. When key units or security actors start defecting, that performance shift is dramatic. It turns this from protest into regime crisis. Even a small number of defections among critical units can have outsized effects by fueling momentum, inspiring more defections, and undermining fear. Analysts suggest that defections make nonviolent campaigns many times more likely to succeed. However, so far most defections are symbolic rather than mass. Lukashenko largely retains control of senior security leadership. The test is whether performance will escalate into real fractures in the chain of command. Now let's consider safety features. In other words, what protections, checks, or stabilizing mechanisms are in play that might prevent total collapse or runaway escalation. First is regime security, internal surveillance, secret police, intelligence penetration of protest groups, quick punitive measures, arrests, disappearances, curfews, military deployments, and censorship. These act as safety valves for the regime, coercive buffers that try to rein in dissent before it spreads further. Second is the loyalty of top commanders. As long as the generals and top security chiefs remain loyal, the regime has a backbone, and mid-level defection is less threatening. The regime may also use patronage, promotions, and rewards to keep loyalty. Lukashenko may also promise amnesties to defectors who return or withdraw support strategically. Third, external support. Russia is the most obvious candidate. Lukashenko has relied on Russian backing politically, financially, and militarily. Moscow might intervene diplomatically or covertly to shore up his regime or deter further defections. Foreign backing is a kind of safe rein for the regime. Fourth, fragmentation and coordination of opposition. The opposition has to remain cohesive, avoid internal splintering, steer clear of provocations that justify violence, maintain discipline, and manage logistics. Otherwise, the regime's countermeasures may exploit divisions. Fifth, the fear factor. Many security personnel will hesitate because of fear of punishment. Even if the regime falls, they could be prosecuted, blacklisted, or hunted down. That fear is a safety cushion preventing wholesale defection. Also, the regime may use hostages, leverage on families, and knowledge of personnel to deter defection. Sixth, the regime's ability to adapt. If Lukashenko tweaks policies, offers concessions, changes personnel, or stages partial reforms, he might calm tensions or split the opposition. These flexible adjustments can serve as safety buffers. Next, unique selling points. What makes this moment special, distinct, and compelling? Why is this crisis not just one more protest, but perhaps a turning point? A few points: the scale and persistence. These protests are nationwide, deep in reach, not just localized. They persist over days with large turnout despite repression. Symbolic defections. The fact that uniformed personnel are publicly defecting is rare in such regimes. Even if small in number, the symbolism shakes fear and gives legitimacy to the opposition. Use of modern media, instant social media, encrypted apps, real-time video, leaks. Protesters and defectors bypass state media control. This magnifies impact. High stakes. Lukashenko has ruled Belarus for decades. This moment challenges his long grip. The risk is existential for both sides. Geopolitical stakes. Belarus is strategically aligned with Russia, so this crisis has international dimensions. Any change would affect regional balance. Moral momentum. The narrative of a people versus a strongman, peaceful protest, and security forces choosing the side of people resonates emotionally and draws global support. Cascade potential. Once defections reach a tipping point, others may follow quickly, turning regime stability into a collapsed domino. Now, the price, what everyone is paying, what the costs are, who bears burdens. On protesters' side, risk is huge. Arrests, beatings, disappearances, families threatened, careers lost, exile or imprisonment. Many already have suffered severe repression. On security side, defectors pay a personal price. Loss of job, risk of reprisals, exile, or being branded traitors. Some may lose pensions, property, or be targeted by counterintelligence. The regime pays too: erosion of legitimacy, international sanctions, economic harm, capital flight, unpredictability, internal distrust, weakening of institutions, and if collapse happens, possibly prosecution of its leaders. The elite supporting Lukashenko may shift allegiances or hedge to save themselves, paying with loyalty. ALS.